If I sound all nasally today, it's because I was cleaning my house yesterday and the dust and shit. I had to dust everything. It got in my sinuses and it fucks me up. Oh, the traumas of being a homeowner. But anyway, the maid was off this week. But anyway, a few more days have gone by. I've been able to digest that 15-0 shutout, and yes, I do consider it still to be a 15-0 shutout to the Eagles, the hands of the Giants. As far as I'm concerned, that special teams touchdown where the Giants hiked the ball to their own end zone still doesn't register on my scoring radar. So 15-0. 0 offensive touchdowns in 2 consecutive games to 2 of the worst defenses in the NFL. And people are still trying to tell me that we got to give Chip Kelly time. He's got a lot of the losers that were part of the Andy Reid team and blah, 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 blah. The thing is, now, the over-encompassing message of that video I made last Sunday was hope. Hope. And people are like, well, Andy Reid came in and he only won a few games his first year. But see, the thing is, there was still that air of hope. Like, you still saw guys like Brian Dawkins. You're like, wow, this guy has potential. And then you see McNabb, and you're like, wow, there may actually be something there. That guy could be a superstar in this league. Hugh Douglas, Trotter. Like, you see all these guys, and it's like, wow, those are key players that are going to be a part of a potentially big team in the future. You look at this Eagles team now, and it's like, Shady. I guess Shady McCoy could be a premier running back in this league, arguably already is. But it's like, well, they keep running him 30 times a game, other than the last couple of weeks. Got to wonder how long it's going to take till he breaks down. Will he be around when this team finally gets its, feet in the ground again? And, there's just no hope. There's no hope. We have no idea who our quarterback is going to be in the future. We have no idea if we're going to a quarterback in the draft next year. We have no idea if the quarterback of the future is here on the team. There's just no hope. And that's why the theme of that video I made on Sunday was that all hope is lost in Philadelphia, because it's more than just hope of this season. It's more of hope in the immediate future. It's like you really can't point to anything and say, well, things may be shaky right now, but here's something that's really good that we can bank on in the future. Like, I'm sorry, someone tell me what it is. Chip Kelly's scary genius? We're going to bank on that in the future? Anyway, yeah, I shouldn't have thrown someone like Billy Davis under the bus saying like he should be fired, because with all due respect to him, the defense is actually overperforming their skill level as far as I'm concerned. If there's one thing that really shouldn't get as much criticism in recent games, it is the Philadelphia Eagles defense. But anyways, that's enough about that game. It's in the past, it's done, and I'm done sobbing on camera over here for you. Oh, God. The Oakland Raiders. Now, this is one of those games where I looked at the schedule. I was like, win. Just draw that W right in there. I'm like, sure, that's the game. That's one of the games the Eagles are going to win. Now we don't have any idea who the quarterback is going to be. I know it's looking like it's going to be Foles, but Barkley's taken as many snaps with the first team in practice right now. It's definitely not going to be fucking Vic. He's going to be on the bench for weeks, possibly for the rest of his career. It's just... There's an air of uncertainty going into this game. It makes it so hard to predict, just not even knowing who your quarterback is going to be. And if it's like someone like Foles, it's like, well, what version are we going to get? Are we going to get that guy that, had no problem passing in the pocket against the Giants earlier this year in that second half and tearing Tampa's defense apart? Like, are we going to get that guy, or are we going to get the guy that shit the bed against the Cowboys? So... And to give credit where credit is due, Oakland isn't exactly a pushover. Like, I know I said, like, I looked at the schedule, I was like, win. But they're not exactly a pushover. They beat the Steelers last week, for starters. Now, granted, they are fortunate to beat the Steelers because Pittsburgh missed 2 key field goals. I think, like, one was, like, 40 yards, one was 36 yards in the second half. Like, you're very rarely going to see teams miss 2 key field goals like that are going to cost you the game. So Oakland was lucky to win last week. But then again, Oakland, we saw just 3-4 weeks ago them just hand San Diego their asses. So this is a team, and with Pryor at quarterback, this is a team that can beat good teams. And if you're not a good team going into Oakland, traveling across the entire country to get there, your chances of winning aren't exactly a gimme. So, Pryor's a dual threat quarterback. He got over 100 yards rushing against Pittsburgh earlier this year. And, earlier this year, last week. Jesus Christ, that made it sound like the game was 5 months ago. I forget what he did in the San Diego game. I think he had like around 220 yards. But he's a guy who's passing over 60%. He's a guy who's just kind of thrown in there to just, that constant rotisserie of quarterbacks that has been cycling through Oakland the past few years. I really don't see this game as a gimme, and honest to God, I just don't see anything that's convinced me on the Eagles right now that they're just going to, pick things up, dust off these few losses and then just go in there and win. Honest to God, I predict them to lose. Philly's going to go in there and they're going to lose. I'm hoping Nick Foles snaps out of whatever fucking funk he was in that Dallas game, but he's going to be playing with cobwebs in his head as it is. His first time his head hits the ground, he could potentially be a little rattled. So it's just, and then you get the Barkley thing in again, and it's just like, ugh. Anyway, it's going to be an excruciating game to say the least, but I rep this green every week, and I'm glutton for punishment to do so. I see Oakland winning this game, though. I will not be surprised to see Philly win this game. Hopefully Chip Kelly realizes what he did in the first several weeks of the year in handing Shady the ball 20-plus times is actually a good thing, and not this shit of just, giving him a dozen or so touches each game. Stick with what brought you here. Well, brought you here. Stick with what's good on your team. Chip Kelly is kind of like Andy Reid in that he wants to prove that he's smarter than everyone else in the room. And that's what Andy Reid did a lot. And a lot of times Andy Reid did that and he did it correctly. Now, what I say like that, what I mean by that is when the Eagles had Barkley marching down the field, you get a 1st and goal from the 2-yard line, and he calls for Barkley to drop back and pass. Conventional logic would say, at least try to attack the end zone one time with your running game. Excuse me, my nose is running. That's very rude. Conventional logic would tell you, try to rush Shady up the gut. If you can't score with 1, 2, or 3 rushing attempts, and you're at the 2-yard line with a 1st and goal, then you do not deserve to be in the game. You do not deserve to get a touchdown. And Chip Kelly gambles. He says, okay, we're going to have my quarterback, Mac Barkley, a green as grass rookie, roll out and do some sort of pass that he has to scramble for. Now, he's not going to have the wits about him to get rid of the ball if he's in trouble. He got in trouble, and what happened? He got caught from behind, the ball got stripped, fumble, recovery by the Giants. So that's Chip Kelly. I want to say, I don't care if I have a green as grass rookie. They're not going to expect me to pass here. Yeah, and when you can't get the pass off, you get fucking bitched from behind, and that's what happens. So, anyway, that's Chip Kelly in a nutshell for you, at least that I've seen so far. And the defenders of him, your words and voice are getting smaller and smaller to my ears, or quieter and quieter. Can't really make us sound smaller, can you? Anyway. Let's go over last week and what I got wrong. I went 10-3 last week, back on a winning way compared to the week before, which I think I was like 6-8 or some shit. I don't know, whatever it was. Anyway, I predicted Philadelphia was going to win. They lost at home, 10th consecutive loss at home. Fucking hell. I predicted Pittsburgh to beat Oakland, and as we talked about before, Oakland ended up winning that game. Nice home win for Oakland. It pretty much puts a nail in the coffin for Pittsburgh's season. I mean, I know things are somewhat tight. Cincinnati isn't exactly running away with the AFC North, so I don't know. Pittsburgh just really hasn't shown much of a heartbeat yet this year. And the other game I got wrong was Atlanta at Arizona. I thought Atlanta would actually have an ounce of heart and win, but Arizona plays well at home, and they played well at home. And they pretty much Another team that just got a dagger put in their season, from just injuries to just piss poor performance when you had a full deck, losing close games. Arizona just whooped that Atlanta ass in their season. I mean, this is a team that I predicted going to the Super Bowl, that a lot of people had predicted going to the Super Bowl. Fuck, did I jinx the shit out of them, man. Falcons just shit the fucking bed this year. Still a lot of season left, but it's getting to the point where now that we're at the halfway point, you can't keep fucking up in games like this with teams that you are better than on paper. I don't care what anyone says. The Falcons are a better team than the Cardinals on paper, but as we know, being a good team on paper doesn't mean a fucking thing in reality, because, you know, the paper team can lose any given Sunday, and that's what happened. One last thing I want to address before I go into next week's pick and wrap this video up is the whole Dez Bryant thing. People have been asking me, you know, what are my opinions about that and that Dallas loss. I wish I could have enjoyed that epic, colossal loss by the Cowboys, but coming off of my team having one of the most piss-poor, pathetic offensive performances and losing to a team that kicked just field goals, it just deflated me. It's like, oh, fuck, Dallas is going to lose, and Stafford runs it in, and oh, no, they lost. It's like I couldn't even get excited about it. Oh my god, if that was coming off an Eagles win, I would have been laughing my motherfucking ass off. But a lot of people are criticizing Dez Bryant for what he did, and if you weren't following what was going on at the end of that game, what the fuck do I got in my hand? Dez Bryant was either upset, trying to be motivational, whatever the case may be, yelling at Tony Romo, yelling, D-Ware had to get in between him and some other players. Like, it looked like things were getting really heated. Now, part of me wants to say, you know, I like that. That's something I used to see Dawkins do all the time on the bench, like just yelling at people, trying to motivate them. I mean, I'm sure Dez Bryant is tired of being a phenomenal wide receiver in this game and playing for a team that's consistently 8-8 and 9-win seasons, 1 and done in the playoff, not making the playoffs. Like, he's tired of that shit. He knows the legacy of the Cowboys. He knows the winning ways they used to have, and he's gonna be sitting there going like, "Oh, I guess we're fixing for another 8-8 season." Like, and he's trying to motivate everyone. But then it gets to the point where it's like, all right, you're popping off a bit too much. You should just, you know, pump the brakes a little bit here, Dez, because you ain't that good, especially when you got Megatron on the other side, busting out over 300 yards receiving. I forget what the final number was, like 320 yards receiving, some sick-ass number like that. But anyway, yeah, Calvin Johnson, just to make a note on that, that was one of the most phenomenal performances that I've ever seen from an athlete. That was just amazing. Just the catches. Anyways, the topic's been talked to death over this past week. We all know how good Calvin Johnson is. Dez, like I said, I'm kind of 50-50 on it. I like seeing someone get up there and be a motivational force, someone who's pissed about games that Dallas should have ran away with that game. You get 4 turnovers in the first half of the game to your none given up. I'm sorry, but you got to capitalize off that. You can't have 4 turnovers in the first half and not be creaming the shit out of the other team. Like, that just doesn't seem possible. It's the same thing with Dallas in that Week 1 game against the Giants. They got, I think it was like 4 or 5 turnovers in that game, and they won by, what was it, like 5-6 points? Like, Dallas is just one of those teams where they're on the cusp, the precipice of being one of those elite teams, but they just find ways to not take advantage and just, but then again, I fucking hate them. So let them wallow in the futility that they are. And people keep saying, why is Jason Garrett still there? Jason Garrett is still there because he is a Jerry Jones yes man. Anything that Jerry wants to get done, he will get it done. And he knows his head coach is not going to bitch about it. He's going to sit there like the good old little lapdog bitch that he is, because Jason Garrett knows he's not exactly a proven coaching commodity. If Jerry Jones decides to kick him to the curb, Jason knows that he's not exactly going to be one of the most hireable guys out there. So he does what he's told, and he knows his role. Parcells and Jimmy Johnson tried, telling Jerry Jones to eat a dick, and he kicked them right to the curb. So Jason knows what's up. He knows his role. So, I mean, anyone question why Jason Garrett is still there, that's your answer. And, you know, he's a 500 coach. He's a coach that's going to give you a 500 season. That's what Dallas has, and I love it. Fuck him. Anyways, this week's picks. Before we get into that, the buys are the New York Giants, Denver Broncos, Detroit, almost said Tigers, Lions, Arizona Cardinals, San Francisco 49ers, and the Jacksonville Jaguars, a.k.a. Your fantasy reserve players will be playing this week. Anyway, San Francisco at Jacksonville. San Francisco at Jacksonville. I was looking at that as the last two buys I had written down. Cincinnati at Miami. First game on Thursday night. By the way, next Thursday night, we got a really good game coming up. Go ahead and look ahead and see what next Thursday night's game is. That's a fucking doozy. Cincinnati at Miami. Miami. I picked you as a potential upset last week. Like, I wasn't going to be surprised you're going to beat New England, but you got off to a 2-touchdown lead and then just folded like a house of cards from there. Fuck you. Cincinnati's going to come into Miami and whoop that ass. Kansas City at Buffalo. Buffalo is skating by and either barely winning games or just winning games, and Kansas City is that team that is just skating by and winning games. And my God, Andy Reid is 8-0. Fucking hell. You can't pick against Kansas City at this point, but this is, I don't know, this just feels like a game where I would not be surprised if Buffalo pulled an upset here. But Kansas City, how can you pick against them? I mean, at this point, how can you pick against them? Minnesota at Dallas. I think Dallas is severely hurt from that loss in Detroit. Minnesota's a solid team. There's a solid team with a lot of solid players, and I look for them to represent strong in Dallas, and you gotta be fucking kidding me if I'm serious about any of that. Dallas is gonna rebound from last week so easily, so significantly. Look for this to be at least a 3-touchdown win for the Cowboys. You gotta be kidding me if you think Minnesota's a chance in this one. Tennessee at St. Louis. St. Louis, who did they play last week in Monday night? Oh, that's right. They played that team that's going to win the Super Bowl this year, that great team. And oh man, that Super Bowl team, they must have creamed the shit out of St. Louis. I mean, St. Louis had a backup quarterback start, and they're not really doing much of anything this year. So I'm sure St. Louis is still recovering from that 72-point defeat at the hands of that team from Washington State last week. So St. Louis has a lot of wounds to still lick, and excuse me, I don't know where that came from. Anyway, I like the way St. Louis looked last week, but you know what? I think they were putting it all on the line. I don't think you're going to see a repeat performance from St. Louis. Look for Tennessee to win that one. I like Tennessee this year. I mean, I don't know what it is about them. I just like them. Anyway, New Orleans at the New York Jets. Ha! Fuck the Jets. You're getting your second loss in a row. Again, I mean, that playoff contender team didn't look so good last year, did it, Jet fan? Last week, did it, Jet fans? San Diego at Washington. Excuse me. I'm sorry, I just blowing some hot air at the Washington fans there, because you Washington dead skin motherfucker bandwagon loving sucking whatever fucking fans, it got on my ass when the Eagles lost to the Giants last week before that game against Denver started. And you're going to start laughing at me about that? Like, did you realize what the 4 o'clock game is? You know, you're going to play Denver? You're going to start laughing at me? I'm sorry, but I can't hear you from down in the basement. You have to laugh louder. Anyway. Oh yeah, look for San Diego to win. Atlanta at Carolina. Oh my God, this is a game where if I think this is the beginning of the season, I'd be like, oh, that's a definite win for Atlanta. Carolina is probably one of the least talked about good teams there is out there. This is a team that's averaging 1 defensive touchdown, or defense giving up 1 touchdown per game. Like, that's a fucking amazing. That's a fucking amazing. Wow. Anyways, look for Carolina to look strong at home. I mean, that defense is something fierce. Philadelphia at Oakland. Like I said, look for Oakland to win at home. Tampa Bay playing that greatest team ever assembled that lives up in Washington State. Look for that team to win up in Washington State. Baltimore at Cleveland. I got Baltimore winning this game, but I will not be stunned for a second if Cleveland reps strong at home. And again, I am rooting for Cleveland this entire year just to give a big fat fuck you to their head honcho, Joe Banner. Pittsburgh at New England. Pittsburgh, my God, this is just going to be the final chance you have this year to do anything sort of impressive. Look for New England to win this one, however. Indianapolis at, what do I have here? Oh, Houston. I can't even read my own handwriting. Jesus Christ. Houston is sticking with a backup quarterback over a healthy Matt Schaub. Whatever. Look for Indianapolis to win that game. Chicago at Green Bay, ending everything on Monday Night Football. Look for Green Bay to win. Look for Green Bay to win. Again, Chicago starting... who's their backup quarterback's name? Fucking Schmitty McGee. Anyways, look for Schmitty McGee to suck for Chicago. And I totally forgot the backup quarterback's name for Chicago. Anyways, Eagles fans, rough week. Rough fucking week. It's going to be an even rougher week if we go on, because everyone is thinking, like, even the odds makers have Philadelphia favored on the road in Oakland. Like, what games are people watching to think that Philly deserves to be a road favorite? I don't fucking get that at all. I honestly think Oakland has proven to be a significantly, almost a full step above what Philadelphia has done this year. It's not saying Oakland's much of anything, but they've been looking better than the Eagles, that's for damn sure. Anyway, that's the picks for this week, and let me go make sure New Dog didn't eat the furniture or something downstairs. Have a good day, everyone, and as always, fuck the Dallas Cowboys. But let Jason Garrett keep his job and let Jerry Jones stay in charge, because you ain't going anywhere with that tandem. Fucking stuttering at the end of this video. I'm going to go blow my nose somewhere off camera. Have a great day, everyone.